Hey, everybody. Welcome back to a few short minutes of the pod, where I just want to remind you it only takes a few short minutes a day of mindfulness, of self-awareness, and of insight to actually rewire your brain. You guys, today I have got the beautiful Laura of That's Where I'm At podcast. And if you guys aren't following her on all major platforms, you are absolutely missing out. I enjoy her content daily. She is an inspiration for me to churn out more content in the way that she does. She doesn't know that, so I just sideswiped her with that one. Sorry, girlfriend, but there you go. And so let me read you a little bit about Laura so you guys know the treat that you're in for today. So she's a mom of 3 grown children, a mother-in-law, and she's got her fur baby, Peaches. Her life changed in the last few years with the deaths of her mother and sister-in-law during the pandemic. And then it changed even more dramatically last year with the end of her 32-year marriage. And by this time, her self-esteem was non-existent, and she was lacking confidence in everyday life, as I'm sure we can all relate.
Yeah.
During the healing, there my kids are. There my fur kids are. Geez Louise. They've never failed, right?
No,
Well,
never. If we're live, we got an animal doing something.
Yeah, every time.
They're like toddlers. Mine at least settled into the chair.
Mine were settled, and then somebody had the audacity to walk outside of our house.
What?
The audacity.
You have people outside of your house? That's amazing.
It's a felony, according to my 12-pound Puggle Chihuahua mix. Right. Good Lord. So Laura has done some healing after her divorce and uncovered the lies that she had been living with being married to a narcissist, who was emotionally abusive. Yeah. So she has learned to read the warning signs of emotional abuse, gaslighting, and narcissism, and helps women understand emotional abuse, what the effects are, how it feels, what it looks like, how to recover. And so she's created a podcast to give women a platform. There goes one under my computer. Okay, let it lay down. To share their dark stories. She hopes to bring hope to others so that they know that they are not alone, and help them see that healing is possible. And I am super, super excited to have you, friend, today. I think that is, man, what a tale. Introduce yourself. I just read stuff. You do it.
Well, thank you so much you basically said it, but thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk because I'm really passionate about this because I did spend 32 years and I only figured out a couple of years ago that he's a narcissist. He's not diagnosed because my guy would not go anywhere near anybody that was a professional diagnoser of anything. And so he's not going anywhere, but he's textbook. And so, I just thought my husband was a jerk and I didn't know how to fix our marriage kind of thing. But, you kind of said it all. I was actually a speech therapist for 15 years. And so I do know a little bit about the brain and how it works and the way we talk to ourselves and how important it is. And, working in the school district for 15 years, helping children like my son who has special needs. I learned a lot. And the thing I have learned along the way is that I love working with women. I love encouraging others. And so to go through this dark time, it was for me, it was so devastating that this happened. Plus all the betrayal I found out about and all those things. It was devastating. But what my natural instinct has always been, I love helping women. And so I was not going to sit around staying quiet. Some people do. I am not faulting anybody for that or shaming anyone for that, but I have made the announcement, and I say this all the time, I will heal loudly for those of you who don't want to heal loudly and you want to heal quietly. I will heal loudly for you. And so, because I've been told, you really shouldn't be talking about this. And I'm like, this is how abuse continues. So I'm talking about it far and wide for anyone who wants to talk about it. And I don't talk about just my ex as far as him, because it doesn't matter who he is. What matters is what I went through and how to avoid people like him.
Oh my gosh, you just said so many gold nuggets in there. Thank you so much.
You're
Um,
welcome.
one of my favorite parts is I will heal loudly for those that can't. And I say all the time, say the hard part out loud. We have
Yes,
to say the hard part out
we
loud.
do. Yeah.
Don't, it continues to stay in the dark. It continues to be hard. We
Mhm,
continue to feel like we're alone. We
mhm.
continue to feel like we're crazy, that we're the only one,
Yes.
something's wrong with us. And something that
Mhm.
came to me, so my first question while you
Yeah,
were talking is, you're a speech therapist, you're a professional woman, you're highly educated, clearly.
yeah.
You
Yes,
understand some of neuroscience, and
yes.
yet you were in this abusive marriage for 32
Correct.
years.
Yes.
How do you
Because
think that
I
happened?
well, and I have talked to people about this, and I've talked to, even people who have been working on, narcissistic abuse recovery too, and I said something about, "I'm not dumb," and she said, "It has nothing to do with being smart or dumb." The
No,
thing
not at all.
is there is this place where you can hold space in both places of, I'm a very well-educated person, and I also Laura really wanted to be loved and thought that her marriage should work and that her husband just was a kind of a jerk and maybe I can just try harder. This, of course, was also modeled to me. And so, that's the thing that I've learned
Mhm.
to unravel is that it has nothing to do with your education, but what it's helping me do in my healing is understand, I know some stuff about the brain. I can share a few things that are just everyday things that it's
Sure.
important for us talking about, talking kindly to ourselves, and knowing how to heal after a particular kind of abuse. Because if you've been in abuse, you want to heal according to what the experts have told you to do for that type of abuse. Because a lot of people wanted me to just be like, oh, you should just, not talk about it and then forgive him and then move on with your life. And I'm like, well, I mean, I want him to go die in a hole if I can say that, but that's not an option. No, that's not enough of the healing. It's like you have to understand what was done to you to know
Yeah.
how to heal, because it has been 33, because we were together 33 years of mind games, because I can now, with having clarity. Okay, so that's what happens. So many years of mind games. So now I have clarity, because once you leave an abusive
Yeah.
relationship or an abusive home or whatever, you are going to have clarity because you're not engulfed in the mind games. And that's the
Yeah, the
biggest.
hindsight is huge.
Oh yeah, I just was like, oh, weird side note. And I mentioned this only because I stopped drinking, not because of anything religious or anything like that. I stopped drinking because I was like, oh, I like the way I am clear headed all the time. And so when I was drinking, just because, it's nighttime, I'm going to have a glass of wine. I'm like, oh, I don't like that I get foggy headed again. So I was like, this is so interesting to me that I've just been trying to notice how I'm healing to help me continue on my journey. So,
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Um, you lost your mom and your sister. I'm so
yeah,
sorry.
my
I'm so
sister-in-law, yeah, it was
sorry.
my brother's wife. Yeah, it was devastating. And when my mom passed away, that was really the demise of our marriage, because he didn't know what to do. They don't have empathy. They can kind of fake it and like sort of pat you on the back and be like, oh, I think I'm supposed to be sad with you, the kind of thing. But that we've never lost, like my mom was the first, big deal in our life, really. It was devastating, and we think she died of COVID before we knew what COVID was. So it was devastating. Then my sister-in-law did die of COVID, and it was horrifying. And my ex didn't know what to do with that. And so it was really just, I could watch the demise of our marriage just from these big things, because they don't know what to do with that. They don't have the empathy for any of that. They don't have the emotional intelligence to be like, oh, my wife's mother and our sister-in-law passed away. I think we should be sad. But he says, I just choose not to be sad. Oh, okay. That, that's
Jesus, if it was only that easy, right? Oh my God.
That's a terrible. Did you know that that's how you can get over anxiety? Just don't be anxious.
Just don't be.
Don't be
All
upset.
these
Then you're not
years, Laura, all these years, I lost my brother to unaliving himself 7 years ago. If
right.
I had only known, I could have just
See,
chosen
you could have
not
just
to be
chosen happiness.
in a
We laugh
dark
so.
abyss.
I'm telling you,
Unbelievable.
that's the thing is, because going into a dark abyss, going into where you're laying in your bed sobbing, right? And I barely recovered from my mom passing away, and here's my sister-in-law dying,
I
and
know.
it was
Woof.
so terrible. And so he didn't know what to do with that, because it's like that means that they would have to look at themselves and be like, I have really deep emotions that hurt. Because really deep emotions that hurt, those are okay. We have a love
Yeah.
for our family, right? You have a love. And so, of course, it's going to hurt when someone passes away. Of course, it is.
Yeah. Absolutely. Even
Yeah.
if it's expected, even if
Yes.
it's a
Exactly.
long departure, it still
Yes.
hurts when it happens.
It's still sad because
Let
there's
alone
so many.
suddenly, like you and
Right.
I,
There's so many
and
layers to it. Yeah. But that takes, well, that's because it sounds like we're healthy and, like we've done work to, to understand ourselves. So
how dare we?
I know.
How dare we?
Women getting
Um,
educated. Can you believe it?
let me clutch my
I'm
pearls
just
on
kidding. I'm
that
just
one.
kidding. I'm just kidding.
Oh no, I love your sense of humor. I knew you would be great for me. I
Yeah,
knew
if
it.
you're
I just
watching
knew
my
it.
videos, I say some stuff.
No, I love it. I love it. I
Good.
think there should be more ballsy women like you and I around here.
Yeah.
I think something my mom used to say to me often that kind of hinders me today still a
Okay.
little bit. It's something I'm
Okay.
present to now
Yes.
at least is, Stacy, that's not ladylike. Or,
Oh, right.
oh, that's not respectful. Or,
Right.
oh, that's too loud. Or,
Mhm.
any of that. And it's like,
Yes. Isn't
F
that
that.
interesting? The leftover stuff? Isn't that so interesting? That's why it was really
Yeah.
surprising to me when I was starting to heal, started doing some groups and things, and people were like, "Yeah, I don't know why some people were like, I don't know why you're not over it yet. I don't know why I'm not
It
over
was
it yet."
most of your life.
It was
3
33 years.
years?
My
That was
gosh,
most of your life.
I was with him longer than I
You were a
wasn't, and
baby. Yeah.
I was a baby, and so I didn't even have a fully formed brain, so I'm just gonna blame it on 22-year-old Laura.
Yeah, I don't even know how that was like, you're 28. So 33, like I don't know how that math is mathin', but
I know.
yeah,
Right,
22-year-old brain.
exactly. Well, my oldest did turn 30, so I think I have to at least say I'm 31.
Oh, so you're
I know.
32.
I'm like, "Wait a second. If I'm 29, how are you 30?"
That doesn't make sense.
It doesn't
My
make sense.
grandmother said that for the longest time. She was like, "Oh yeah, I'm 30. I'm 30." I'm like, Meemaw, I'm 25." So that math ain't mathin' because there's a
Wait
whole
a second.
person in between you and I. Like
Wait,
we
I
gotta
know.
we
It's
gotta
so we
gotta
gotta
up it a
figure that
little
one
bit.
out. I know,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Yeah. So we also share something else in common, having a
Oh,
special needs child.
oh, okay.
So this one right here, he was
Oh,
born
okay.
without an immune system. He
Oh
has
my
what's called common
goodness.
variable immunodeficiency, and so
Wow.
that's been a whole thing.
Yes.
Um, how have you navigate and it sounds kind of similar to what I experienced, and not because
Okay.
my ex was a narcissist. I'm
Yeah.
not bashing my ex for those of you that know him. I'm
Right.
just saying he had little capacity for what the capacity actually needed to be.
Right.
And that's it just is. It's not good or
Yes.
bad, it just is. Um,
Well, and
how
that
was
is
it
hard.
navigating the special
Uh-huh.
needs aspect when you have a narcissistic husband, let alone a low capacity, you
Yeah,
know?
well, I didn't know that he was at the time.
Of
And
course.
so I remember looking back now, of course, now hindsight's 2020. I can think back to things will just pop in my head. I'm telling you this clarity thing, and I'll be like, oh yeah, I remember when he fought me on that. Everything was just every
Yeah.
single thing, every decision we had to make. Our son is deaf, and so deciding, are we going to do hearing aids, are we going to do cochlear implant, are we going to put him in this class, are we going to put him in that class, those kinds of decisions. And I remember that they were kind of a fight for that. And then I remember, it's funny because I remember meeting other moms, and he would be like, I don't really like her for you. And now I think back, it's because they were a little bit too strong of a woman, and I think that he didn't want me to become any more vocal than I already
Get any
was.
good ideas?
Yes, exactly. And
Woof.
so, the thing is with, parents of children with special needs already have a strike against them, because a lot of people don't survive having a child with special needs, like that they end up divorcing because
Yep.
because it's so stressful. And it was very stressful. And then I decided that I wanted to help my son. And so I went back to school to be a speech therapist. So I did all that. And so he liked that. I mean, not that I got a degree because that wasn't any good. I can't be better than him that way, but he liked that I was going to have a full-time job with, making a good income. So that kind of thing, he supported me that way. But it was hard making some decisions because they were very much, there was always kind of a back and forth and kind of a giving in. Oh, I guess this is the decision we're going to make. And you're so difficult kind of thing. And it's sad to think back on it because I'm like, what would I have done differently? But I did what I did. I was who I was. I didn't see it. And so I just thought, he's kind of difficult. That's what I just thought. He's kind of difficult. It's just some people are. That's what I thought, you know.
It is wild the amount of autopilot, the amount of
Yes.
original programming from your family previous to
Yes.
him, then being with him so young, he was able
Yeah.
to get you those last 3 years before your brain fully developed, then
Right.
gaslighting and manipulation.
Right.
It's amazing to me. And I say this again to illustrate that it
Yeah.
literally has nothing to do with your intelligence level,
Right.
level of education, level of
Yeah.
awareness. It really doesn't, because narcissists are really good at manipulation.
It's very
That is like
subtle.
their bread and
Yeah.
butter.
It's very subtle. And that's the thing that people say, almost, I haven't had people say, like, why didn't you leave kind of thing, but sort of. And, I know that question runs through people's heads. Frankly, it would have run through my head. Okay. Because I always said, why didn't you leave? Even people who, are getting physically abused, I would think, why don't they just leave? Now I know, because number one, I didn't even notice it. Because it's incremental. It's the put down here, the apology here, so it's like 2 steps forward, 3 steps back and forth. There's good times and there's bad times, like in every marriage, right? And so it's hard to sit there and go, I should have left. No, but I left when I left, because I did say that to my therapist. I said, why didn't I leave sooner? And she goes, my gosh, when you figured it out, you ran out the door.
You did.
so so
You
that
didn't
was a
stay
thing.
one more day.
I
Brava.
didn't. No, I didn't.
That's
And that's the
amazing.
thing. Yeah. And so and I've talked to other people and I've asked the same question, like, when is it time to leave? And people and experts have said it's time to leave when it's time to leave. Like, you can't tell anybody when this happens and this number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No,
Yeah.
when people are ready, they will do what they need to do. And that might mean
Yep.
staying if you're willing to put up with it. I wasn't, because frankly, I was going to end up in a marriage with another woman too, as well. You know what I'm saying? Because like, he couldn't control that part. So I was all done.
I mean, I'm not here bashing E&M and Polly by any stretch of the
Right. Exactly.
imagination,
But
but there
that
is a
wasn't my,
level of
right.
consent that happens in those
Correct.
relationships. And it
That's
doesn't sound like
different.
you had that. Yeah.
No, no, I'm the same way. I don't, everyone can live their life. That wasn't the life I was living. I wasn't about to share. I wasn't going to share. And I was like, can you stop? And he said, yes, I'd be glad to stop. Oh, I mean, no, I'm not going to. So, yeah, well, you do what you do. I don't know. I
Talk
stayed
about,
as, yeah, go ahead.
go ahead. Talk
No,
about, um, talk about those first weeks after leaving. You've lost
yeah,
so much. Your
yes,
mom, your sister-in-law,
yeah,
now this guy that you grew up with, who you
yes,
share children with, a whole life, house, friends, like all
yes,
of that is now in play, now
yes,
in jeopardy on some sort of level. What were
yeah.
those few first weeks like for you?
It was really hard. I have to say there's first few weeks for me, because I told him, I said, and I didn't know this was a thing, like going no contact. I really didn't. I was very ignorant to all this
Sure.
narcissism world and everything. And so I just told him, I said, hey, I don't think I could handle like seeing you on social media and things like that. So I think I'm going to unfriend like our mutual friends that I don't have any relationship with, whatever, and your family, stuff like that. And he was like, oh, okay. And I'm thinking, I'm sure now he's thinking, great. And so I went no contact because I didn't want to see him moving on with his life without me. And then I also knew that he was going to end up with this girl who he ended up with. And because she was always an issue in our marriage. And so it was really hard. But what I left that, so this was last year in September, I walked out of there going, oh, I'm going to do some healing. We just grew apart, irreconcilable differences. And I did a lot of healing things. And I didn't have really this idea about narcissism. I didn't really think about that too much. I was just doing some healing. But then things like the grapevine and people started saying things, and everyone knew, do not tell me if he ends up with that girl because I'll die. Like I will die. And so I spent a lot of time really sad and all that stuff, but did a lot of healing, just working on my self-love, um, just trying to figure out who is Laura 2.0, what's she going to do with her life. And so then in December, so a few months later, I was accidentally told that they were together. And then my children then spilled all the beans because I called them and said, hey, I know about the girlfriend. They're like, okay, let's talk about it. And they were none too happy. But then that was my new first day of being divorced because
Oh, yeah.
the blindfold was taken off. Then I saw him for what I started to like get downloads. I'm a woman of faith. And so I felt like God was like showing me like, this is narcissism. This is what's been happening. This is what it looks like. It was wild to me. It was like a wild ride. And that to me was harder. And so I spent a lot
Mm.
of time. That was really hard. The betrayal, that was really hard. Your brain doesn't know what to do
Sure.
with, I used to be married to that man. Why are you touching him? You know what I mean? Like,
Right. No, absolutely.
your brain doesn't know what to do with that. So
No,
that
not
was,
at all.
it was hard. It was really hard, but I just kept moving forward. But I took the time to lay in bed and cry and just cry and cry and cry and talk to trusted friends, thank God, talk to my kids who allowed me to talk to them and just cry to them and be like, why is he doing this? That kind of thing. So
Yeah, sure. Sure.
it
What
was hard.
is it's I have so many questions. So it's strange. It's interesting to me that in
Yeah.
this day and age, narcissism, narcissists,
Yeah.
it's such
Yeah.
a buzzword.
Yes.
And we are literally talking 14 months ago.
I
That's
know.
it. I
Yep.
just want to give everybody the time frame again.
Yep.
Literally 14 months ago when she
Yes.
left.
Yep.
And think about 14 months ago, September
Yeah.
2022, right?
Yep.
Think about what's going on in your life. And think
Yep.
about how much we heard about gaslighting and narcissism and narcissism. And yet, like, you had just no wherewithal that
No.
was going on, and yet it's like a huge societal thing
Isn't it
for American
amazing?
nomenclature.
It's really when you're ready to hear it, I really do believe that when you're ready to hear it, you'll hear it. Because I've taken classes on codependency. That was a big thing I worked on a few years ago. And my friend said, do you remember we talked about narcissism in that class? And I said, we did. And I went
Oh
to all the
gosh.
classes. And she said, yeah. And I said, I do not remember that. I wasn't meant to really hear it, or I wasn't ready to hear it. And because I have friends who have told me, yeah, I saw some red flags because they were married to narcissists, but I don't think I said, I just, no, I wouldn't have been receptive. I would have been like, no, he's stressed, work is hard or whatever. All the excuses I know. And so until I was ready to hear it, did I finally see it? That's why I felt like the blindfold was taken off, because all of a sudden I saw it everywhere. I heard it everywhere. And this is the part for me, it is a buzzword right now, but this is the part for me that is important, is people want to put a label. But what I've learned is that the label isn't important. It's like I was saying at the beginning, it's important for your healing. So what it did for me is to look at it and say, is he a narcissist? Okay, yeah, he probably is. He's textbook. That helps me to heal, because instead of saying like, oh my gosh, he replaced me with somebody like the day we got divorced, instead of saying that, I can say narcissists don't like being alone.
New supply.
New supply. And it has nothing to do with me. It has to do with me for the fact that I stopped following the rules, quote unquote. Okay. Because he didn't
Right.
like it that I was like, I started to understand, like, you're being really rude. You're being mean. He stopped talking to me. I was on full discard. I was in
Oof.
full discard mode. And he was to me. And so what saying the word narcissist does is helps me heal and helps me understand that it's not all about me. it's about him as well in his behavior. So that really helped with my healing. That really helped because I said to
Yeah,
my
for sure.
daughter, I said, oh my gosh, he's doing all these things with her because, of course, you want to check social media every once in a while because
Ugh,
that was a temptation. It's a normal
terrible.
temptation. It's
I
a
know. It's the worst
terrible.
thing you could do for yourself, though.
It is so bad. So anybody don't do it. But I
Uh-uh.
did. And I said to my
Block them.
daughter, yeah, seriously, I said to my daughter, I'm like, he's doing all these things. And she goes, or is she love bombing? Or is he love bombing her? And I said, oh, you're so right.
Oh,
So she had the vocabulary as well to be able to say, Mom, he didn't replace you. He can't be alone. And
nope.
that girl is following the rules and is loves him and doing all the things. And you stop
Yeah.
doing that as far as I wasn't following the rules anymore. And I don't say like I was perfect. I don't never say that. But there's a difference when you were being abused, when you're abused. It's not like I just stopped being a good wife. I was being so belittled. I wanted to unalive myself at one point. You know what I mean? Like you are so sad. You don't even want to be in the
Yeah.
world anymore.
Yeah.
And it's so
You're just so
that's
beaten down.
depressing. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
depressing. It's really scary.
Um, what is what are some parallels that you've seen in your childhood and then in this relationship? Because there's strong correlation to your childhood and ending up in a relationship like this.
Well, I
Draw some of
haven't
those for me.
yeah, and I don't wanna say too much, in
No,
case
that's okay.
anyone watches, but what I have found is, I think what I have seen throughout my life and the pattern I have found is I wasn't really listened to, and I wasn't given an opportunity to have an opinion, and I think it could have been the culture, it could have been the time, I was
Yeah.
born in '67, right? So it
Children are
was
seen
that
and not heard still.
yeah,
Gen
so and
X, we're Gen Xers. We get like
right, and
absolutely.
that's the thing is and I think about my parents who were born in '39 and '41. You think their parents let them talk? No, and so
No.
they did the best they could. Now, do I know that I was loved? Yes. Were they doing
Mhm.
the best they could with what they had to
Sure.
work with? Yes, and I
Absolutely.
know that there's also some trauma in their past. So that's just
Yeah.
carried forward, and so that's why I started a podcast. Because nobody wanted to listen to me. So so
I
Laura
love that.
so 2023, Laura took a microphone. No, but it's true. As I was doing the inner healing work, it literally was a revelation one day. I said, I started a podcast because nobody wanted to listen to me. And my therapist was like, Yep. And my
Yes, you
friend was like,
did.
Yep. But it's okay. It's okay. I'm not doing it to be salacious. I'm not doing it to belittle my
Who
ex or
cares
whatever.
if you do?
Well, I
Even
know, but
if you did.
you're
Even if
right.
you did.
You're right.
That that's
I'm
taking that power
apologizing.
back.
Yeah, you're
Don't
sorry. I'm sorry.
apologize for
No,
being empowering.
yeah, you're right because
Not at
yeah,
all.
see, I still got some
I
residual
know.
stuff in there.
Girlfriend, you're 14 months out. You're going to be dealing with this, unfortunately, for years.
No,
And
it's true.
it's going to be a new layer every 14 months, a new
Yeah,
layer. And it just is.
it's
I mean, I've
true.
been in therapy 9.5 years, 9.5 years.
Yeah.
And my therapist is going to retire before I let her go.
Oh,
Like it
jeez.
ain't, and then I'm going to show up at her house. Um, eh,
Exactly.
like say
We
anything with
do this
John
over.
Cusack,
Oh
like
my
it's gonna
gosh, yes.
it's gonna happen.
I'm
She ain't going
telling you,
nowhere,
I will
man.
pay out of pocket, whatever you want. No, seriously. I
Yeah.
mean, I do therapy over Zoom, so mine doesn't have to do anything. I don't even care if you're laying in bed, okay? Just
Nope.
open up your Zoom so I can talk to you.
Yep.
No, I've been doing
Exactly.
therapy. We've had some major things other than my mom and my sister-in-law passing away. Brought our son home from college, and he knows I would tell this. He's given me permission for drugs and
Good.
alcohol. And so that's where I
Good.
started my journey with therapy because I would I would I would say things like I really hate the way I feel, the way he's making me feel as a mother and the chaos in our
Sure.
life.
Yeah.
And my ex would say, "Well, you can't say things like that." And I'd be like, "What?" So that's why I think therapy is so important is because you're allowed to walk into a therapy office and go, "I really hate this thing." or I'm feeling this kind of way. And
Yep.
other than you saying you want to unalive yourself, they are there to hear you and say, like, let's talk about it. What does that mean? Let's unpack it.
Yeah.
And it's not always safe to do that, even with friends, to say, like, I
Yeah.
really hate this. Now, I did meet some friends who had similar situations with their kids being on drugs. And it's like, yeah, I felt that way too, but that's still not enough. I wanted to know, what kind of a mother did I do this? Because, of course,
Sure.
my ex did make me feel that way. So that's the thing, is you learn, especially with working on codependency, you work on what was your responsibility and what wasn't.
Mm.
You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so that was really
Yeah.
helpful. So that's why I say that I kind of therapied my way out of my marriage, because I've been doing so much therapy, getting healthy, on starting with that. And my son always goes, "You're welcome, mom."
You're like, listen, jackass.
No,
I
because
could have
he's doing
handled it
well.
without the drugs and alcohol, buddy. Like, could you not?
He's doing really good now, but it's so funny. Whenever I tell
Fantastic.
that story, he goes, "You're welcome."
Like, no,
But
but no, listen.
it's true. We got to say,
It is true.
I see the silver lining, because that's the thing, is like, you never know what's just going to be your final straw. And
The
even if
thing.
even if it means, like, we think about rock bottom for people, say, on drugs and alcohol, we think about their rock bottom, but that was like my rock bottom of, like, am I a
Mhm.
good mom? Did I do this? And just kind of
Sure.
talking it out, and then learning, how do you be just happy? I didn't understand how people were just walking around this world being happy. Like, how is that a thing? And
Yeah.
so I learned, I wanted to, so that's what I started doing in therapy as well. I'm like, how do you just be happy? How does that work?
Yeah. How do you feel okay right now in your body and not existential dread all the time? You
Right.
know, staring into the
Or
abyss. How
how
do
do
I
you
not do
manage
that?
both of those?
Yeah. How can I find a balance here?
Right.
On Sundays, I stare into the existential dread. On Mondays, I'm
Give
great. How do I
Right,
do that?
give yourself some time to look at, yes. No, I mean, it's true. And it was learning a balance, learning what's normal, what's not normal, as or more typical. What's typical, what's not typical, normal. I
Sure.
hate that word, but
Yeah. Normal.
it's more what's typical of a human, and how should you be feeling. Should a human typically be feeling. And so but I was like, I'd like to be happy, please. And so I learned how to do that without outside factors. How do people just be happy? And so I learned how to do that.
Yeah.
Where I
I
got
think that's imperative for more people to understand how to do that. Because when you don't, that's when you fall into
Yeah.
toxic relationships, whether
Oh,
they're romantic,
true.
platonic, career, professional,
Yes.
familial.
Yes.
I think when you don't know how to give yourself that internal validation, you
Yeah.
go looking for it elsewhere. Sometimes that's drugs, sometimes that's wine, sometimes
Right.
that's
Exactly.
overeating, that sometimes it's over shopping. Like
Yeah.
there's a million things outside of you
Yeah.
that could give you that false feeling for a minute,
Yes.
but it's nothing compared to coming from the inside out.
Right.
Nothing.
And that's what I really wanted to do, so that when I move forward in this world, and I haven't been dating, and
Oh God, no, don't do that. Don't do
no,
that.
no, no.
Don't
But
do
I feel
that.
like I'm in a good place right now. I took myself to Paris, as kind of a celebratory
Amazing.
thing, because he wouldn't, and we talked about going for a lot of years, and he wouldn't take me, so I took myself, and it was very healing, because it was a tangible thing I did and I am totally not I can do it on my own. I don't need a man kind of person. I am not that girl. I'm sort of traditional in that way. But I was like, I'm so proud of myself. I did this all by myself. I was like, I started crying under the Eiffel
Absolutely.
Tower. I was like, I did it. You guys, I
You
did it.
should be.
The poor tour bus.
Everybody's like, yes,
No,
you're like,
they
you did it.
knew the tour, because I was on a tour, and I had told them why I was there, and so I literally was like, you guys, the Eiffel Tower. And they're like, yep, you did it, Laura. Because
Oh my
they knew. It was
gosh.
really sweet. Yeah, I had 30 people rooting for me. It was really sweet. I really enjoyed it. It was great. It was
That
great.
that
It
is
was amazing.
great.
Yeah.
Not everybody can afford to take themselves to
No.
Paris. What are you doing on a smaller level every day to kind of
Yes.
mimic
Yes.
Paris?
Yes, exactly. Well, I love journaling, so that was a big deal for me, because And also, I started saying yes to a lot of good things. My therapist told me to start looking for the things to say yes to. And that might mean my friends saying, do you want to go hiking? Do you want to try pickleball? Do you want to go to this new restaurant? Things like that. And she said to say yes to a lot of good things. Don't go saying yes to a bunch of bad things, because she wanted me to see, what is Laura 2.0 going to like? And frankly, after leaving my marriage, and this can be any kind of a marriage, you really have been, you were one, right, with this person. You were like in this relationship with this person, and I did not have any idea. Do I like this outside of him? Do I like this activity outside of him? So that's what I started doing, is learning. And so for me, I also like very simple things. Like I love getting in my bed and it's comfortable. I bought myself a comfy comforter and I love watching Netflix, stuff like that. That is like in a comfy way, not in a, I got to go lay in bed and cry kind of way. Cause I've done those too, but just taking care of me. And what does that look like? And it's just a lot of little things, eating the things I want. I actually go out to eat by myself. Um, Surprisingly, I'm actually an introvert with extrovert qualities. And so to go out to dinner, I throw a earbud in my ear. I watch a show and I just sit there and I enjoy, especially this time of year. The weather's really nice right now in Las Vegas. And so just enjoy myself, and enjoy.
Hold on. Did
Yes.
I know you were in Vegas?
Why are you in Vegas?
I'm in Vegas. How
What?
did I not know you were in Vegas?
Stacy, seriously?
What the fuck?
Wait, we must.
Okay, we're having coffee.
Okay,
That's done.
Sure, we
That's
are.
done. What part of Vegas do you live in?
I live in Centennial Hills. Well, why am I announcing this? Where are you?
I'm in the Northwest as well.
Oh my God.
Okay.
Right after
that's
this,
done.
going to coffee.
That's done.
That's it.
Yeah,
End of story.
Done
We're
and
doing
done. Done and done. You guys, I just found my new bestie. Monica, don't get upset. You're not replaced. We're just gonna add Laura.
We're just gonna add her to the group. Perfect.
Yeah, we're just gonna add her to the group chat.
That is hilarious. I wonder if we have mutual friends. Okay, we'll figure that out after.
Well, now I'm gonna stalk you on social media for sure, not just your podcast, which we want to definitely talk about.
I do most of my stuff on the That's Where I'm At podcast socials. I do a little bit of stuff. I don't usually add people I don't know on my regular, but I'm always talking about stuff on That's Where I'm At podcast. I love doing videos and stuff. I really do. So even just journaling and silly things like that, I've just been trying to figure out, there's so much freedom in just figuring out, what do I like? What don't I like? You know what I mean? That there's freedom in that. I don't have to answer to anybody, so
it's so reminiscent for my Swifties out there of that line. She's like, I don't have to pretend I like acid rock anymore. Yes. And I just hear that like in my head. Thank you, ADHD. Every time you say that. So what is your acid rock? Like, what is something that you pretended to like or thought you liked with your ex that you're like, oh, hell no.
Okay. No. Well, I don't know if I have some of that, but I did. Surprisingly, I still hike, which I didn't think I wanted to do that. That's kind of that was a trigger in our marriage because he loved to do hiking. So I learned how to hike with him, but I'd be like, my limit's probably like 5 miles, which actually when I was doing really well, that was pretty good. But his current wife, who was an issue in our marriage, she will do 30 miles with him. And has, do you know what I mean? And so I was like, I don't know. So when I was done, when I was done with the marriage, when it was over, someone asked me, do you want to go hiking? I broke down crying and said, yeah, I don't even know if I like hiking. So my friend said, well, let's go try it. So we went hiking and we were with the group and I was literally like this, guys, look at me. I'm hiking and I'm not crying. Look.
I love that so much for you.
Look, it's all about self-awareness. That's what it is. That's what it's been, is just be aware. And so that's what I've been doing is journaling. How does it feel when I do this? That's scary. That was fun. And I was like, I'm not crying and I'm hiking. This is good. So
hey guys, look, I'm not crying anymore.
I'm not crying, you guys. It's fine. No, I get it. It was funny because the first time my friends were like, you're not crying. I'm like, you guys know about the hiking thing? They're like, oh yeah, yeah. Okay. Well, that's good. You're not crying.
They're like,
Congratulations.
yeah, weirdo. We're glad you're not crying. Oh,
My poor
okay.
friends. Thank God for friends who I don't have to explain everything to. They just get it. So it's good.
Those are some good friends. Those are
Yeah.
some good friends.
Yes.
So you started a podcast because nobody wanted to listen to you when you were little.
Right.
I love that inner child work that
That's
you were doing
exactly
and you
it.
didn't even know it.
I
Like,
didn't
that is
even know it.
brilliant.
I know. I'm
Talk
telling
about it.
you. So I was doing some like wellness life coaching with my friend, and she's just amazing. But I told her, I said, look, I haven't dreamt in a long time. And I don't mean like when I'm sleeping. I mean like wide awake dreaming about my life,
Daydreaming,
because
yeah.
anytime I wanted to dream, he would say, like, well, no, that's I mean, yeah, sure, you can do you're great with women, but you can't do anything with that. And I had always been told, like, you're such an encourager and all these things, and I just always love encouraging women, so I always wanted to do something, but I didn't know. So we were sitting and doing our wellness coaching, and she was walking me through some stuff, but before we would do that, she actually knows my ex, and she would say, like, okay, so catch me up. And so I would tell her a few things, and then I'd go, yeah, that's where I'm at. And then I go, wait, is that something? And I was like,
I think I might be brilliant.
what is that? And so I just have learned, as being a woman of faith, maybe that's something. So I just jotted it down in my journal, and I didn't know what it was. I literally wrote, I don't know what this is, but I just knew, like, jot it down. Especially when if you get a feeling like that, no matter if you're a person of faith or not, if you get a feeling like that, jot it down, because it could be something.
Talk about your process, because not a lot of people know that. So for me,
Okay.
it took me many, many years.
Yes,
And
for
I
sure.
realized when I get chills, which I am getting half body chills right now, which is really
Yeah.
interesting, in
Okay.
saying this, it's like, hi,
That's
intuition,
it.
tinkle, 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 tinkle.
Yes.
What is it for you? What's the thing? How do you know it's a download or divine intervention or whatever you want
Yeah.
to label it, y'all?
Well, it was very like, wait, I'm telling you, and she'll tell you this too. I was like, well, yeah, and that's where I'm at. And I go, wait, why did that sound different this time? Like, it just sounded different that time. And so what I've learned is to not dismiss those kind of things. When you
Yeah.
see something, you go, wait, what? And I just decided I'm going to write it down. And I literally wrote, I have no idea what this is. And then things started happening, and it's too long of a process to tell
Yep.
you, but things started happening. And so when it came time to name the podcast, I wasn't telling too many people. And I had people, like, when I would say, well, God, that's where I'm at, I would say if I was just chatting with you, yeah, well, that's where I'm at, you would say, that needs to be the name of your podcast. You don't know how many people said that to me. And I'd go,
What a reinforcement, what a synchronicity
it's
of like,
in my journal.
hello.
Yeah, so that's the thing, is that, and you don't have to share all these little, intuitions or whatever. It can just be in a notebook, going, wait, did I feel something? Did I think something? Could be nothing, could be for later. I have learned that there's a reason why we're being tapped on the shoulder. And so just jot it down, and it might go somewhere, it might not. And it ended up, for me, weeks later, when I was trying to name the podcast, I was like, oh, it's got to be that's where I'm at. I mean, I just feel like that's it. And every time I would be having conversation, people would go, that's got to be the name of your podcast. And I'd be like, that is the name of my podcast. It's amazing. So that's it. Just trust yourself. Don't dismiss those little intuition taps. That's how
No,
I.
anytime you go, huh, that's weird, pay attention.
Yeah, seriously, because you don't know
Deja
how
vu,
all those
anything that goes
things.
side, like, huh, like,
If it
yeah,
stops you
pay
and you
attention.
go, it doesn't have to make sense. This is what I've
No,
learned, is it doesn't have to make sense. Just the way a
no.
puzzle doesn't look like anything until you've put it together. It does not look like anything. And if someone handed you one piece, you would go, what is this? And then you go, oh, it's a beautiful picture of a bridge, a country bridge. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
but you don't know that, but okay, I need this piece, and eventually I'll need the other 1,000 pieces, and then I put them all together. So that's just what I've learned to do. But that comes from clarity, I'm telling you, all this work, just being self-aware. That's how I am. I walk around trying to be self-aware with that. And also because of I am a woman of faith, and it's like maybe God's talking to me. Maybe he's showing me something over there. I don't know. Everything isn't a sign, but if you are in the process of looking for a sign, you could see something in a random place, you know. So,
Yeah,
so pay attention.
absolutely.
So pay
We call
attention.
this synchronicities in the woo-woo
That's
world
right.
and the
Yes,
spiritual world.
exactly.
And
Yeah.
that's exactly what they are. The weirdest one happened to me a few days ago on TikTok. I love TikTok. I know you
Yeah.
love TikTok too.
Yeah.
Because I see your TikToks and I just
Oh,
like
good.
putting them out. I love it. I love it
Yeah.
so much.
Yes.
Putting herself out there. And there's a TikToker, she calls herself a synchronicity fairy. And she
Oh,
comes
okay.
in once a day and she gives you like these random, like
Oh, okay.
really random things.
Okay.
And one day I flipped on her just accidentally on my FYP, and she
Yeah.
was like, "Today's synchronicity thing is bagpipes," and I was like, "Well, that's random. That's really random."
Wow.
So I was like
Okay.
flipping through, scroll. All of a sudden, I can't even make this stuff up. There
I love it.
was Dr. Pimple Popper, who
Yes.
Sandra Lee,
Right.
if you guys don't know who she is, okay,
I
I'm one of those weird
yes.
ones that get
I do.
relief from watching the
I do.
extractions. I
I
know
do
it's
like it. I
strange.
know. I like it. Yeah.
It's
It's
gross, but
weird.
I love it.
I know. I know.
So she was with a group of bagpipers
Oh my God.
in the wind. Get out of
What?
here. Get
What?
out of here. Get
What?
out of here. I threw my phone. I was like, get the out of here. My kids are like, Mom, you good? And I was like, bro, like, I
It's
was like,
so
just wait a minute.
It's so wild. It's so wild. I'll have to look both of them up on TikTok. I haven't fixed my algorithm on there yet. I just see random
Uh,
stuff.
my algorithm's so jacked right now. It's pretty funny. But yeah, so for those of you that don't understand that, Dr. Pimple Popper is in California. She has
Yeah.
no reason to be in like no Vegas ties.
Right.
And I am in Vegas. We live in Vegas.
Right.
And so the fact that I saw bagpipes 30 videos above, and then here is this woman that lives in LA who I have,
Isn't that
watched for a couple
crazy?
of years
Yeah.
in a casino here
Right.
with bagpipers. Like, get at what are the chances? Like,
It's
there
so
just
wild.
isn't.
And that's the thing is that so she brought something to your attention, right? And so that's why I felt like this that didn't mean anything to you. And that's why it's important. It's like just pay attention to if something
Yeah.
stops you in your tracks and goes like, what is that? Or why do I like that? Or why did that sound different?
Yeah.
Because I had friends who go like, oh, you say that all the time. You always say that's where I'm at. I go, I know. But that one time I said it, I was like, wait, what is that? And that was it. And it was just so strange. So it's like, just pay attention to what's happening. It could just be one of those things.
I
Write
love
it down.
that. Write it down. Make a note in your phone. Use a voice memo. It doesn't matter.
Right.
Just so you can
That's
go back
right.
to it later,
Yep.
because it will come back. It will
Yep.
come back in some way, shape, or form. And
That's
I
right.
don't know. I don't think the bagpipes were like I'm not waiting on anything else there. Like
Okay.
I think that just was
That
a
was
loop
it.
of like, hey, this is actually real.
Yes,
Just
exactly. Yes.
reinforcement. And
Yes.
there it was again. And I was like, holy shit. Like, I
That's
was like,
amazing.
what is happening right now? Like, that
That's
really threw me
that's
for a
wild.
loop.
I love
And
I
that
love
was,
those kind of things. Yeah.
yeah, that
That's
was just
wild.
last week. Just last week.
Wow, that's
Um,
cool.
yeah, and it's interesting because the further I get in my healing journey, it's fascinating that things still floor me like that, and I love that because it just shows that hey, there's more. There's
Yes.
more.
Right. That's the
How
thing is that we haven't learned every single thing, and that's why I'm so open to like learning and growing. I'm learning so much from talking to other people. I swear I have therapy every time I talk to one of you guys and talk about these things. I so enjoy because
true?
this is the thing, when I started my journey, I felt so alone, especially the people who were telling me, oh, just, don't talk about it. And when people tell you not to talk about things, it's oftentimes because they're uncomfortable.
Oh,
Well,
1000%. It's not
yeah.
often. It's every.
And
It's
I
every.
just felt like I spent 33 years being very quiet, being very small. And I hated that. I hate because
And
that's
it
not
got
who
you there.
it
It
got
didn't
me
get you
there.
anywhere.
Right. And I thought, I always felt, and he wasn't into this, but I always felt like if you fall down, get back up, try it again. Like you're allowed to make mistakes. In fact, it's really good for your brain to make mistakes. That's why they tell you to
Yep.
try new things and actually fail at them. Don't go, you know what? I'm probably good at pickleball, so I'm going to go play it. No, you have no idea if you are good at whatever. Go play something that you're not good at because it's actually really good for your brain. Your brain will continue to grow and get
Yep.
better. And so then you can live longer because you have a really good brain and you'll be more alert
Yep.
and all that stuff. And so I'm just a big proponent of that. Like it's okay to fall down. So I feel like if I'm doing this, could I have done better on my episode, my first few episodes? Probably. Who cares? I'm 30 episodes in now. You guys haven't heard them all. Doesn't matter. By the time you hear them all, I just keep improving because I keep learning and growing.
Yep.
And that's all it's about. It's not about being perfect. If you're waiting to be perfect for anything, you're never going to go anywhere in this world. And that's why I say I will do it for the people who don't want to do it yet. I'm going to heal loudly for the people who just are like, I'm going to
Can't.
be quiet. I have friends who have told me, I don't want to talk about it. You don't, and I tell them, you don't have to. I will do it for you. And I'm not talking about their ex. I'm talking about I will do this for you out loud to help
Yeah.
other women so that women like you who are sitting in the background are not having to worry about, well, do I have to tell my story? No, you don't have to if you don't want to. I'll do it.
Yeah. But
Be glad to.
also here you are. Here
Yeah.
it is. It's normalized. I hope you feel
Yes.
seen. I hope you feel
Yes.
heard. Even though you feel very small right now and your
Yes.
voice is very small,
Yes.
it's okay because you're not alone. And I think
That's it.
I'm getting chills.
Yeah.
Normalizing things and making people feel seen and heard, even if they choose not to speak, is one
Yes.
of the most powerful things that we can do for each
It
other.
really is. And so I was saying to a good friend, I said, healing comes in community. And she said, but you have to also add conversation. So it's
Yep.
okay for those, for even say the people who don't want to speak, say we're all in a group, but some of us are having the conversation. You're not going to feel alone. You're going to feel seen and heard. So this to me is the conversation. I'm talking to you today, Stacy, but I've talked to, Jessica last night. You know what I mean? Like I'm talking to people, we're having those conversations because healing can't just come. A lot of times we can't just do it by ourselves. And that's what I
Yeah.
really felt. I felt really alone and I didn't know what to do. I thought, I can't be the only person who just left a long marriage and feels like crap. And then their ex went off and has a new person. Like I can't be the only one in the world. So I went searching
Nope.
and here we all are.
And here we all are. What has been something surprising about the podcast for you?
Well, it's been surprising how much I'm enjoying it. You would think listening to so many what I'm calling dark stories would be really bad. But I'm telling you, what I'm hearing is the hope, right? We're hearing the part where we come out of the dark and we're heading towards the light or we're in the light. Because I'm talking to people who are still in the middle of the mess. I don't care. Like that's the thing for me is it doesn't matter if you haven't figured it out. No one's arrived anywhere. So we're
Nobody.
still nobody. So we're figuring this out. What have you done to this point? This is what I've done to 14 months point. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's been the surprising thing for me that how much I'm enjoying talking to people. In fact, to the point where people tell me their dark stories, I go, "Oh, I love your story." Like, oh,
There,
sorry, that's not what I
weird as
mean.
that sounds, there's something very yeah, no, there's something very powerful there. Again, with the normalizing and feeling
Well, that's the
held
thing.
space for. Like that's super
That's the
powerful.
thing. Well, because especially if I'm talking to them because they've approached me to be on the podcast, they are they're coaching other women, they're in a healthy place, they've moved forward in their life. And so they're telling me this deep dark thing and I'm like and I clap. It's a normal reaction, like a little kid I clap because I'm like you came out of that?
Look at you now.
Yes.
Yep.
And so I really do get excited because, we could look at it however we want to, evil or whatever. And it's like that dark stuff can really win if we don't do anything. And that's why I decided to talk about it so
Yeah.
that it wouldn't
Save the
win.
hard part out loud.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it. I
Do.
love it so much. And I think that's the natural, natural circle back. That's full circle of our
Yeah.
conversation.
Yeah.
Laura, thank you so much for your time, your
Thank you
energy,
for
your
having me.
space, your vulnerability, your power, your empowerment. Tell everybody about where they can find you, where they can listen
Sure.
to the podcast, to all the things, please.
You got it. So that's where I'm at. Podcast.com is the website, and it will give you every link to everything you ever wanted to know about me. But that's where I'm at, podcasts on all the social media and on Apple, Spotify, and Amazon Music. I think we're in a few other places, but those are the major ones. And so please, go and listen. And if you like it, of course, leave me a review, because that tells the podcast gods that you like me and all that. And then I can keep doing what I'm doing. But yeah, look for me on there. I try to be active every day on social media, so that people get some information. I try to educate and entertain. I
You do.
definitely try. I try to
You do.
entertain.
You do. I even
Well,
want to use some of your posts to show. So I coach coaches as well
oh,
as I have
okay.
two jobs. I have my private coaching, then I consult for a
Mhm.
corporation, and I coach coaches for them. And I want to take your social media and show them and be like,
Do
y'all,
it.
there is no no
I
excuse
and some
to
of the
not show up
stuff.
on social media.
Well, the thing is that I tell my friends this too, because they're like, "How do you do all these reels?" I go, "Look, if I look halfway decent, like if I had some to record today, I'd probably do it right now, but I don't have any. I'm thinking of recording, so I try to batch create, and it's why you'll see me in the same sweatshirt 5 videos in a row, because I recorded five
Yeah.
different videos, 5 different topics, or something comes to mind. And that's the thing, is like, just choose. If you have a business, just choose something that your people need to hear about. Who's your person, who's your customer, who's your consumer, and talk to them. And so I'm bringing awareness, and I'm doing a little bit of funny stuff. And am I saying the word my ex? Yes, but insert your ex here. You know what I mean? Because they're all doing the same stuff if they're a narcissist sometimes. And they seem to be reading out of the same playbook. I don't know how
It
it
is
works.
it's wild, right? It's
It's so
wild.
The brain is so freaking fascinating to me that way. And so that's
For sure.
why I want to give education and awareness, so that and then also to help people heal. Because I wanted to do a video like I did recently of saying, like, he didn't replace you because you're not worth anything. He replaced you because he can't be alone. So that's what I
Yep.
want women to hear. It's like, this is not about you. I mean, yes, we're responsible for whatever we're responsible for, but he didn't just go pick somebody else up because you're worthless. No, because he is.
Yeah. So, for those of you that don't know, narcissism is actually the deepest insecurity that
Yes.
has ever
Yes.
been felt. So,
Yeah.
imagine your worst insecurity and then multiply that by 1,000. And
Yes.
that's what they feel about themselves. But because it's so, so, so deep, they don't know
Yes.
that. They just
Right.
know they have something to make up for, have to be showy, have to be the
No.
king, the queen, you know what I mean?
It
But
it breaks my heart.
inside, it, yeah, I
It
mean, if
really
they weren't such
does.
assholes, I'd feel sorry for them.
No, seriously. I mean, I do hold space for both. That
Sure.
he was
It
a
can be
little
both.
boy. He was a little boy who needed to be loved by his mother, who she's cold, and she has
Yeah,
trauma. She couldn't give it to him. And so that's how he became who he became. Unfortunately,
that's true.
that's how they're built. And then I can also hold space that he's a grown ass adult. And did he have to abuse me? He sure didn't. And so,
No, he made his own decisions.
yeah, I can hold space for both.
Yep.
And I feel them both very deeply. And so that's why it's hard sometimes. But so we talk about both. I talk on the podcast to a lot of people like you and I are talking to, how are we working through this? How are other people working through this? And then there's lots of experts out there, not experts necessarily, but well, sort of experts, and also coaches, therapists, all these things, right? That can help you to move forward as well. So I provide a lot
Yeah.
of resources. So
I love that so much. New bestie, thank you for your
okay.
time.
I
This has
know.
been
This is so
an
exciting.
I'm so excited. An amazing conversation.
Yay.
You guys, I hope you got value out of this. If you did, drop a follow to Laura, drop a follow to me if this is the first
Yeah,
time you're seeing me. If you're on YouTube, do all the YouTubey things.
that's right.
Y'all know.
Push all the
We know by
buttons.
now. Push all the buttons. You guys know. And leave a comment. What stood out to you? What helped you? What didn't you like? I don't care. Like,
Right,
share your
exactly.
thoughts.
Yep.
And you guys just remember, it only takes a few short minutes a day of mindfulness, of presence, of insight and self-awareness to physically rewire your brain to
Yes.
be more neuroplastic, to be less afraid, to be more
Yep.
self-confident, to be more self-aware. It is amazing what a few short minutes spent in presence will do
Yep.
for you. And I just hope
True.
that you try something new today. So thank you for your time and your space. I love you, and I will see you guys soon.
Thanks, Stacy.
End stream, end stream.